We left a legacy, the Memphis State Eight, and the responsibility they shouldered to fight for equal rights in higher education. They were the first young African American scholars to enroll at Memphis State University. The selected eight, Eleanor Gandy, Marvis Laverne Neeland Jones, Bertha Rogers Looney, Rose Blankley Love, Luther McClellan, Ralph Prater, Sammy Johnson, and John Simpson showed outstanding academic performance in high school. These successful valedictorians, salutatorians, and high-achieving graduates sacrificed the college life they could have experienced, like pledging to sororities and fraternities, leading social organizations, or even studying the classes they were interested in to take a stand for civil rights. In 1959, they chose a tougher road, a road that would change the history of what we now know as the University of Memphis, but which would fill their college experiences with memories of discrimination and hatred. The Memphis State Eight were denied their right to a quality college education at Memphis State University, and in spite of this, they bravely took the responsibility upon themselves to desegregate the college. In 1954, the Supreme Court's decision to end segregation in public schools in Brown v. Board of Education affected public universities across the South and changed the campus culture to a racially charged one in many areas. Desegregation of public schools and universities sent shockwaves through the established segregated culture in Tennessee for the next 5 years. A lawsuit filed by the NAACP in 1955 began the fight to integrate Memphis State University, as it was then known because it didn't become a university until 1957. A federal judge ruled the state segregation laws unconstitutional and ordered the admission of African Americans under the State Board of Education's measured integration plan. At that point, the Memphis branch of the NAACP enrolled the city's top African American high school students to join the school. All were prominent students, graduating with honors from Douglas, Hamilton, Manassas, and Booker T. Washington high schools.
Thought I would not come, but Mr. Jesse Turner at that time was president of the NAACP, had called my home every day, sometimes twice a day, asking me to please take the test. That Memphis State had an entrance exam, which was instituted at the time that the school was being integrated, that just to see if I could pass the test. So I was all set on going to Lemoyne, and it's Lemoyne on now, but at that time it was Lemoyne, because I had a full scholarship there, and I had a scholarship to Fisk University. However, my parents could not afford to travel between Memphis and Nashville for me to go to Fisk, which I really wanted to go to Fisk. I thought I would go to Fisk and marry a doctor from Harry, but anyway, since I could not go there, I accepted the scholarship at Lemoyne. After much persuasion from people, leaders in our community, NAACP, Memphis Urban League, church leaders, I thought I would take the test just to give it a try. And I was fortunate enough to make a perfect score.
However, after the 8 graduates attempted to enroll at Memphis State in the fall of 1958, then President J. Millard Smith petitioned for a 1-year delay.
1959 is when they opened up, and 1958 is when I graduated. And so they said, we can't let you come because this city is not ready for integration. So the Board of Regents said, we have to put it off for a year.
In other parts of the Deep South, desegregation attempts by African American students caused massive mobs to form and stage violent protests. Unlike the situation with the Little Rock Nine, where President Eisenhower had to send the 101st Airborne Division to escort the 9 students to class every day, or at the University of Alabama, where Governor George Wallace blocked the school's entrance, the Memphis State Eight were not directly attacked for the most part, but instead were ignored and shunned.
In that class, I would have a seat vacant on that side of me, vacant on the right side of me, vacant in front of me, and vacant in the back of me.
Most of the Memphis State Eight recall being tense and anxious the day they arrived. One of the students, Ralph Prater, admitted experiencing some fear. We had no idea what might happen, and we knew that there were some real possibilities that some very dangerous things could occur, he said, but we were anxious to get an education, and to get that education at a reasonable cost. Therefore, we were willing to take the chances that we did. The first day, the 8 students were given rules and regulations that seemed unfair compared to the other white students.
8 of us were told we must be off campus by noon. It meant that our classes were back to back from 8 in the morning until 12.
They were banned from the cafeteria. They could not participate in social and sporting events and were only able to go to 2 assigned student lounges in the library. They were not allowed to take physical education.
We were mostly ignored in all our classes. We would just be the only black person in that class. We were escorted to our classes by undercover law enforcement officers, and we're told to sit at the back of the classroom, ignored by the professors as well as the students.
The administration at Memphis State placed them in separate orientation sessions and even registered them in all of their classes so they were separated from one another.
All of our books had been ordered and organized for us. Nobody asked me, what do you want to major in? Or I didn't have a counselor. I didn't have anybody to guide me as to what. They guided me on the core curriculum or whatever was available.
Rarely, members of the Memphis State 8 came across professors and students who gave them hope.
The one that helped me at Memphis State was a man who's living now, Mr. George Faisal. And he taught me biology, but he would give me a time to come and see him if I didn't understand. The rest of the teachers, they would get this, well, you have to come I have a time, office time that you can come. But I would go, but they wouldn't show up. And you know, I had to be out at about 12. So I thought, well, this is not right.
After the first year, more African Americans enrolled and the restrictions were lifted. The courage among the 8 students inspired others to join the movement of integration.
Everybody's created equal, and that everybody, you go for the self-worth and the personality and the intelligence. You don't go by color of anybody's skin. You go by all of that.
The Memphis State 8 were recently honored by the University of Memphis and learned the impact their actions have had on the lives of succeeding generations of young people. Today, about 35% of the university's students are African American. For the past decade, the university has been recognized as one of the nation's top producers of African American graduates with baccalaureate and advanced degrees.
I've had a wonderful life. And I've had a life to be proud of because I wanted to give something back to the university, and that is to make sure that I left a legacy for the young people to go there, people of color, white people, all of the people to go there to understand what integration was all about.
The University of Memphis has come a long way because of the courage of the Memphis State 8. By their bravery and strength, they have left a legacy and proved that everyone is entitled to an education.